Alright, so let's take a look at adjective and adverb errors. Adjective and adverb errors are very specific types of errors found on the SAT that involve switching or using the wrong type of adjectives or adverbs. These are pretty easy to spot if you know what to look out for and understand a couple basic rules. So let's get started by first defining what adjectives and adverbs are. An adjective is a word that describes a noun or a pronoun. Examples of adjectives are red, large, pretty, and soft. Notice that all of these words describe an object. On the other hand, an adverb is a word that describes a verb or an adjective. Examples of adverbs are quickly, silently, happily, and frequently. Notice that all of these words can describe an action. So in order to identify whether a word is an adjective or an adverb, we can ask ourselves what it's describing. If the word's describing an object, then it's probably an adjective. If it's describing an action, then we can safely say that the word is an adverb. So there are three types of adjective or adverb errors that generally show up on the SAT writing section. The first one, the adjective adverb displacement error, is the one that's tested most frequently. So let's take a look at what it is. In adjective adverb displacement errors, adjectives are put in the place of what should be adverbs. In other words, adjectives are wrongly used to describe an action and should be replaced with adverbs. So let's take a look at how this works in an example. This sentence reads, "It was fortunate that the inexperienced veterinarian was able to examine the injured horse calm and with confidence." Doesn't the word calm seem kind of awkward in this sentence? Let's take a look at what it's describing. The word calm is describing the manner in which the inexperienced vet was examining the injured horse. Examining the injured horse is an action, so the word calm should be an adverb. However, as we know, calm is an adjective. It describes objects such as people or settings. Therefore, in order to correct this sentence, the adjective calm should be replaced by the adverb calmly. Because of this error, you should always be sure to check underlined adjectives in case they're taking the place of what should be adverbs. However, on the SAT, the opposite case is almost never true. Therefore, underlined adverbs are almost never wrong. You usually won't need to check those. Alright, so let's move on to the next type of adjective or adverb error. Comparative versus superlative errors involve mistakenly switching between the comparative or superlative form of an adjective or adverb. The comparative form of an adjective or adverb, typically associated with the er suffix, is used when comparing two objects. So for example, if I were to say, "My computer is slower than hers," the word slower is the comparative form of the adjective slow. I use it in order to show that my computer is more slow than hers is. If I wanted to compare my computer to all of the computers in the office, I would have to use the superlative form of the word slow, typically associated with the est suffix, and say that my computer is the slowest one in the office. So notice that the comparative form of slow was used when comparing two objects, my computer and hers, but the superlative form was used when comparing three or more objects, which in this case was my computer and the rest of the computers in the office. The comparative versus superlative error will mix up these two forms of adjectives and adverbs, which is incorrect. So let's take a look at another example. This sentence reads, "In many respects, Anna Karenina and Emma Bovary are very similar characters, but Bovary has the most spirit and determination." Take note that Anna Karenina and Emma Bovary are two objects that are being compared in this sentence. However, the word most is a superlative. As we know, when only two objects are being compared, we are supposed to use a comparative form of an adjective or adverb. Therefore, in order to correct this sentence, the word most should be replaced with its comparative form, more. If this were the case, the sentence would read, "In many respects, Anna Karenina and Emma Bovary are very similar characters, but Bovary has more spirit and determination." That's the correct form of the sentence. Alright, so let's continue on to the final type of adjective or adverb error. The structure of a comparative error involves wrongly forming the comparative form of an adjective or adverb. In order to identify this type of error, you first have to know how to correctly form a comparative. So this can be done one of these two ways. The first way is to add the er suffix to the original adjective or adverb's root form. This is the case for the word easy. In order to get the comparative form of this word, just add er onto it and you can get easier. The second way is to add the word more in front of the adjective or adverb. This is the case for the word difficult. In order to get the comparative form of this word, you wouldn't just add on er and say difficulter. You would instead add more in front of the word and get more difficult. So either of these two methods work for each adverb or adjective in order to get the comparative. However, under no circumstances can you use both of these, or none of them. If you were to do that, you would get a structure of a comparative error. Alright, so let's move on to our final example. This sentence reads, "In constant demand as a speaker, Ms. Chernock has never been more busier than she is now." We identify busy as the root adjective which describes Ms. Chernock. Notice how it's sandwiched between the suffix er and the prefix more. As we now know, comparatives can't be formed by adding both of these things onto the root adjective. As the adjective busy can be modified into a comparative by adding the er suffix, we can correct this sentence by replacing more busier with just busier. So the correct form of this sentence would be, "In constant demand as a speaker, Ms. Chernock has never been busier than she is now." So those are the three types of adjective and adverb errors that will appear on the writing section of the SAT test.